What is good, ladies and gentlemen? How you doing? How you feeling? I'm feeling great. I'm wearing the same shirt, and that's because I recorded this episode and the last episode of me talking about Pokemon cards that could potentially change up Pokemon TCG Pocket in the same day. So hopefully that clears up everything. But yes, as usual, I would like to present to you guys some cards that could potentially shake up the meta in Pokemon Pocket. I got a lot of things to. This video is going to be a doozy. This one is going to be one of my favorites. I've been kind of like holding off talking about these cards for some time, but I think it's best that because I've realized that me kind of holding off some of these cards, so I ain't gonna waste too much time. I got a lot of cards to talk about. Hopefully you guys enjoy this ride with me. Hopefully you guys like, comment, subscribe, because I got you guys today. All right, so let's strap in. Okay, all right. Let's start off nice and calm as I usually like to start these joints. I like to talk about little item cards, tool cards before we start getting into the meat and potatoes. You feel me? All right, off rip. Let's talk about escape rope. Now, I honestly always had escape rope in the back of my mind. Not in those intents and purposes. That sounds crazy. But I have escape rope always in the back of my mind because there's a lot of cards that kind of do what escape rope does, but escape rope has a little extra quirks to it that might make it still valuable in the meta of Pocket. I say that because escape rope's main ability is essentially each player switches their active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. Your opponent switches first, and it's pretty much, you know, you swap into your active with different Pokemon. They switch theirs, you switch theirs, you know. I only kind of held off because there's a lot of cards like Cyrus that drags her Pokemon from the active to the bench. We have Sabrina that drags her active to the bench. And then we have Repel that pushes your Pokemon from the active to the bench and have to pick another one. Escape Rope works really well because let's say you're playing the most majestic card in all of Pokemon Pocket, Torterra, and you're able to attack, but unfortunately you cannot attack next turn, so you're sitting duck. But what if you escape rope out of there into a Pokemon with a low retreat cost, retreat out again, and now you're able to attack with that. You see, now escape rope, the more I think about it, it has its uses. So that's why I think escape rope would be a really good card to add to the meta of Pokemon Pocket, because it definitely shakes things up in a way that it will cause players to think about what's on their active, what's on their bench, and how can they, you know, play with that in certain instances. That's a really good card to have. Moving on, I'd like to present to you Jesse and James. Yes, the iconic duo from the Pokemon anime makes a return in the Pokemon TCG world, but this time I don't think anybody's going to be too happy about it, because the Jesse and James card allows each player to discard 2 cards from their hand. Your opponent discards 2 first.
Prepare for trouble.
Make it double.
I think this would be a really good card to play, especially when you're dealing with just kind of like fucking over your opponent. I think it'd be really cool to just throw like a red card, mill down your opponent down to like 3 cards, and then you put down a Jesse and James to get rid of those 2 cards. I think this card will definitely have its uses. Next up, it's time for me to put on my tinfoil hat once again, because I still believe stadium cards are indeed coming. When? Who knows? At least at the time of me recording this, I don't know if they ever will add stadium cards, but I'm hoping that they will. But I would like to talk about Sky Pillar. Sky Pillar would be the bane of every single Decidueye, Greninja, in all the land in Pocket. And essentially what Sky Pillar does is it will prevent all the effects of opponents' attacks, including damage done to your bench Pokemon. It's pretty much a protection for all the bench snipers that you would have in Pocket. The Hitmonlees attacking your bench, or just anything in general. You know, this stadium card right here protects your bench nice and safe. Now, obviously, you might think, yo, Moon, what the fuck you got against snipers on the bench? Yo, bro, let me cook. I say, oh, my bad. I got something for you then. Let me introduce you to the Telescopic sight. This card increases your damage to your bench EX Pokemon in this case, because they're mentioning Pokemon V and GX, but Pocket only deals with Pokemon EX. When you see V and GX, just think EX in general. I think this is a really cool card just to even the playing field when dealing with a lot of tanky EX Pokemon. Like sometimes there's going to be a Giratina on the bench just charging up and you can't really do anything about it, just whittle away. Now you could do a little extra more damage. Your Greninja is going to be doing 50 more damage to that. Your Crobat's going to be doing 60 more damage on the field. So just a little more extra oomph. Your Decidueye's hitting for 130 if you hit a GX Pokemon. So I feel like it's a nice equalizer. It kind of just hits a little oomph, you know? Next, let's talk draw support, because as of right now, at the time of me recording this, we're very limited in terms of draw ability in Pokemon Pocket. Either you have Professor Oak, or you rely on your Sylveons to draw you 2 extra cards, or any other Pokemon that has like an ability to draw. We don't really have any supporter cards outside of Professor Oak that really helps you to draw. I think Whitney's a very interesting supporter card to add to the mix. Essentially what Whitney does is you draw a card, and then you draw 2 cards for each Whitney that you have in your discard pile. Now, obviously, in Pokemon Pocket, you're only allowed 2 copies of a card, whereas in Pokemon TCG, you have 4 copies. So, obviously, Whitney would be way more potent in regular Pokemon TCG, but I think in TCG Pocket, it would be pretty cool, because the first time you put down Whitney, you would draw 1 card, and then once you have another Whitney in your discard pile, you play another Whitney, instead of that 1 card, you would draw 3 cards instead. So it'll help to at least increase your draw ability. The more Whitneys you play, the more you draw. I think that's pretty cool. Also, I think Schoolboy would be a really cool card to have as well. Essentially what Schoolboy does is, if your opponent has exactly 1, 3, or 5 prize cards remaining, draw 2 more cards. I think Schoolboy will obviously have to be altered for Pocket, because there's no prize cards in Pocket. We deal with a point system. So I would say maybe for Schoolboy, if your opponent has exactly 2 points remaining, maybe you draw 4 cards. So it's a card that only can have its most potent effect once your opponent has those 2 prize cards. But if draw support is really the name of the game, well, let's take a look at the Lucky Egg. Essentially what Lucky Egg does, if the Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by the damage of an opponent's attack, draw until you have 7 cards in your hand. Now, I think 7 cards is a little excessive. Maybe they might whittle that down to like 5 cards, draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. But I think Lucky Egg will definitely help with more options for you know, drawing through your deck, because I think a lot of times a lot of deck really need is just ways to just search through your deck. You know, you want to just draw as many cards as possible to, you know, play and get to where you need to get to in the match. I think Lucky Egg would be really good for doing that. There's a similar card as well. We have the Lucky Helmet, which is different from its Rocky Helmet variant, whereas Rocky Helmet does damage to the active. Lucky Helmet, if this Pokemon this card is attached to is in an active spot and is damaged from an attack, draw 2 cards. So instead of you putting 2 damage counters on your opponent, instead you draw 2 cards. So Lucky Helmet will help with your draw ability while you're in the active. I think those 2 cards will also help with you know, just your draw ability in a match. I think the cards I've mentioned between either Whitney, Schoolboy, Lucky Egg, or Lucky Helmet, I think these are really good cards to have. While we're in line of totally fucking up your opponent's hand, I'd like to introduce you to the Grabber item card. Essentially what the Grabber hand does is, opponent reveals his hand, you look at that bitch, you be like, oh, that's a nice Pokemon you got there. Yoink! And you pretty much chuck that Pokemon to the bottom of their deck. I think this would be a really nice trolley card. Once you know you're fishing for a certain Pokemon card, you can kind of stall and delay them a little bit. Just throw them right at the bottom of the deck. I think this is a really good card. Just stall. I think we need more stalling trolley. Not really stalling and trolley, but cards to kind of help you buy more time, fuck over your opponent the same way like a red card would do. So I think cards like this are very much needed. Throw this in last minute, but it would be dope to have the Koga's Trap supporter card. Essentially what the supporter card does is your opponent's active is now confused and poisoned. That is a big fuck you if I ever did see one. I think that would be really good, especially with like we have like Claude Sire's decks. Like let's say your opponent just came in, it just healed up. It's like, fuck, you know, maybe you're trying to get you have no poison barbs, get no poison going on, but you have a Koga's Trap in hand. You throw that bitch in, you're confused and poisoned. You got that poison condition. Now you hit for extra damage for your Paldean Quagsire. I think that'd be pretty cool. I think a Koga's Trap would be dope. But yeah, I would like to talk about A-Spec cards. Now, if you hear the name A-Spec cards, chances are you're going to deal with a very powerful a supporter or item card that can essentially turn the tides of battle. Now, these cards are very special. Like I said, they're very powerful, and their main defining factor that separates them from regular cards is that you're only allowed one Spec card per deck. Now, originally for Pocket, I thought that if they ever were to introduce a rare candy, that rare candies would be an Spec card. I always thought that rare candies, given how fast Pocket was, would be too crazy. Like, let's take, for example, we have the Maximum Belt. And pretty much what Maximum Belt does is, once you attach this to your Pokemon, they're going to do a hefty amount of damage to your opposing EX Pokemon. 50 damage might sound excessive. They might, tone it down to maybe like 40 or 30 damage, but I feel like for an Spec card, it still should have that power and respect of damage. So maybe they might keep it at 50, but it'll definitely, make certain cards think twice before they enter the active zone. We also have Spec cards like Life Dew. Now, Life Dew is an insane card because if this card is attached to a knocked out Pokemon, your opponent takes one fewer prize. Imagine setting up a wishy-washy deck. You got your EXs and your baby wishy-washies on the field, and they're about to knock out one of your wishy-washies. You can throw out a Life Dew and essentially not lose any prize cards, or potentially only lose one for your EX. So Life Dew is a really good way to extend your survivability in a match. There's plenty of other Spec cards, but just in the concept, Spec cards are very potent, powerful cards that I think could really, shake up the meta of Pokemon Pocket. Now, there's other cards with Life Dew's ability, like we have Lily's Pearl. Oh my gosh, Lily got a bunch of fuck shit out here. If Lily's Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out, you take one fewer prize card, so very similar to that. There's also a very interesting card called a Prism card, which is very similar to an Spec card because you're only allowed one of the name of that Prism card in your deck as well. But there's a Black Market Stadium card. When a dark Pokemon that has dark energy is knocked out, your opponent takes one fewer prize card. So as you can see, the whole concept of taking one fewer prize cards is a very powerful move. That's why they have to hide it behind certain stipulations. Even this Lily's Pearl, the Pokemon in question would have to be tied into association with Lily. And I don't think we have in particular Pokemon with a trainer's name in it. And I could talk about that for a future video. All right, so we talked about a lot of cards throughout this video, and a lot of it, as you've noticed, have been supporter cards, item cards, stadium cards. We haven't really talked about any Pokemon cards. And usually I would have brought up a Pokemon card or two, at least at this stage in the video. I was saving for all the Pokemon to the end because these line of Pokemon cards is something that it's going to be worth saving to the end. I'm talking none other than Mega Pokemon. And it's hype because Megas are definitely making a comeback this year with Pokemon Zod dropping. Recently, a trailer dropped showing off Dragonite's new Mega form. Not only that, but in Pokemon TCG front, Megas are now coming back into rotation. So Megas galore these days. And I'd be very curious to see how they implement Megas in Pokemon TCG Pocket. Now, Megas are very powerful, raw looking cards, fire, gas. Now, these cards, these are the creme de la creme. As you can see, this Charizard doing 300 damage. Insane, nuts, crazy. Oh my gosh. But the art, oh my gosh, I can't wait for them to add some Megas into Pocket because they're about to go crazy, especially with the art and the animations. Ooh. But a lot of these Megas, it's going to take time to get to. As you can see, these Megas still follow the same line. This is essentially would be a stage 3. It will take a while to even just get to Megas. Now, as you can see, Mega Pokemon are quite the jump from their regular counterparts. They still follow along the EX rule. When they're defeated, they take 2 prize cards. But essentially, this is a stage 3 card. So you're going to have to go from Ghastly, Haunter, Gengar, into Mega Gengar, or you go from Ghastly to Gengar with the rare candy, and then you go into Mega Gengar. But to even get into Mega Gengar, Mega Pokemon at a point in time, they had this Mega Evolution rule. When you evolved your Pokemon into a Mega, your turn automatically ended. So it took a while just to even get to the Mega form, and then when you get there, you pretty much had to end your turn. But Mega Pokemon are usually worth it because that turn loss would indicate that next turn you were about to tear shit up. As you can see, all these different Mega Pokemon, they have crazy attacks. Like take Mega Tyranitar. This attack does 60 more damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. But not only that, Mega Pokemon, some of them have special abilities. Like take this Tyranitar. It had the ability double. This Pokemon may have up to 2 Pokemon tool cards attached to it. Jesus, insane. What the fuck? Nuts, you know? So now you kind of understand, like, okay, now I can kind of see why it takes so long to even get to this stage. Now you're not entirely out of luck when setting up your Mega Pokemon. There are tool cards called Spirit Links, which essentially help you to bypass the Mega Evolution rule of losing your turn after evolution. Essentially, you just attach it to your Pokemon, then evolve, and you'll be able to attack that very same turn. Obviously, we'd have to find the tool card first to attach to it, but it definitely would be able to help you get rolling. But as you can see, these Mega Pokemon are indeed powerful. Now that was just Mega Pokemon in the past. Now that Mega Pokemon are being reintroduced into TCG, you can see how they have updated for the current times. Let's take Mega Gardevoir EX. HP is still insane, 360. Yeah, damn. Now, obviously, we're dealing in Pokemon TCG Live. Obviously, their health pool is going to be even more insane, but even still, just going to be nuts in general. But, however, you see that it has lost its Mega Evolution rule of losing its turn from leveling up. And also, you also notice that you'll go from Acrylia into Mega Gardevoir EX. So now you don't have to go from Ralts, Acrylia, Gardevoir, then Mega Gardevoir. You can go from Acrylia right into Mega Gardevoir, which is nice. However, you will see that Mega Evolution has a new rule where it says when your Mega Evolution Pokemon EX is knocked out, your opponent takes 3 prize cards. I feel like maybe in Pocket, if you destroy a Mega Pokemon, that would be a game ender. Like, they will just take the whole 3 points, regardless if they had 1 point or 2 point. It'll just take everything, and that'll just be an insta win for your opponent once they defeat your Mega Pokemon. I think that will be very fair given how crazy a lot of these Mega Pokemon are. As you can see, I'm showing a bunch on screen for you guys to see. They are really strong and powerful. Some of them have abilities like this Mega Venusaur. As often as you like, during your turn, you may use this ability, move a basic grass energy from one of your Pokemon to another one. So pretty much you just get free movement of all your grass energies. Insane damage. Like, look at this Lucario. Orajab, 130 for 1 fighting energy. Attach up to 3 basic fighting energy from your discard pile to your bench Pokemon anyway. Like, this is a fighting ramp. Fighting Pokemon need a ramp, but this is insane already. For 130, 1 fighting energy, but it gets worse. For 2 fighting energy, 270. Golly. Obviously, like I said, would have to be toned down for Pokemon Pocket, but you can see how potent all of these Mega Pokemon truly are and how scary they would be on the field. But I think I'm very curious to see how Mega Pokemon would be in Pocket, because obviously everything transferred over from Pokemon TCG to Pocket always has some type of like alterations. So I'm curious to see, would they maintain the you lose that turn once you evolve into a Mega Pokemon? Would they allow you to go from your Ralts, your Acrylia into your Mega, or would they want you to go Ralts, Acrylia, Gardevoir, Mega Gardevoir? I'm very curious. That's up to how DNA decides to structure it. I do like the New Age way of just going straight into your Stage 1 into your Mega. I'm very curious to see how that goes, but that's going to be in their court. But yeah, those are the cards I have to talk about. Very excited about Mega Pokemon and what their implications could be in Pocket, because I think they could be insane. Hopefully you guys like the cards I talk about, because I've been honestly seeing everything line up. This is the year of the Megas, essentially. So I'm hoping that we get them soon. I'm excited, and hopefully you guys are just excited as myself. But either way, that's the end of my video. I got nothing left to talk about. So would you get the fuck off my channel, nigga?